tradition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say is even harder to find.
Happy Podcast Day.
Happy Podcast Day. All right. Awesome. Another episode of Unlocking Silicon Valley.
Unlocking Silicon Valley.
Just the three of us today, so I'm expecting good things out of the three of us.
Yep, I got some good info.
Yeah, so I'll just start with stats. I haven't been doing it every podcast because they've been kind of, trending in the same direction. However, I feel like we might have hit a little bit of, I don't know if I call it a record, but currently, here we are mid-September, there are currently 908 active single-family homes.
The highest we've had for how many years?
Quite a while, right? I can't remember the last time.
17, 16,
between single-family homes, condos, townhomes, we're actually at 1,766. So, yeah.
That's half of what we've said, like at 3,500
is a neutral market.
Neutral market, exactly.
Yeah. So, almost 1,000 homes on the market, single-family homes on the market in Santa Clara County. So definitely, relatively more options to choose from for buyers out there. There's about 653 pending. Okay. So we're running at about 6 weeks worth of inventory. So
the environment's better for buyers now than it's been in the last, since 2020?
What do you think, G?
With rates?
I would say 2022 December was the last time when we saw this kind of inventory where no one was buying. Rates went from 3% to 4.5%. But right now, what I'm hearing from my buyers is like, hey, should we wait another week? Maybe more inventory comes up. And I was like, look, by the time we hit mid-October, the absorption rate's going to go up significantly.
Yeah, and inventory is going to go down because people are going to take their homes off the market.
That blows my mind. Or people say, I'm going to wait till the rates go down and buy the house. I'm like, well, what if that perfect house comes on the market now?
Well,
and you lose it over a quarter.
Yeah, and not only that, I've had two sellers reach out to me because their homes have been on the market for a little while now, kind of unique properties. And both of them said, well, I'm sure activity is going to pick up once the Fed lowers rates on the 17th. And I remind them that one, that's not going to happen because everybody's so if we know the Fed's going to cut rates, if all the economists know the Fed's going to cut rates, the stock market knows the Fed's going to cut rates. It's already baked in. Absolutely. And so Fed's going to announce sometime today, I think everybody's at this point thinking a 0.25% reduction, right? But stock market's on fire right now because they're already anticipating that. And what do we know? When the market goes up, interest rates go up. Mortgage interest rates go up, right? Because people sell bonds to buy stock. So I wouldn't be surprised if mortgage interest rates actually ticked up a little bit this week.
Well, and that was the whole key. I had several conversations with clients last week. It's like, just lock it in now. Don't wait till next week because that's not the way it works. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It moves differently, although it moves, it has an effect on each other, right? Mm-hmm. But actually, there's a 60% chance that they might do a 50 basis point cut.
Oh, so it's up to
okay. I did hear that.
Okay.
Right. So there's a good chance that the Fed does a bigger cut. But yeah, I think a lot of people are still expecting that rate to go down.
6.15 now with the Fed rate. Is that right? So half a point's going to take us down to 5.5.
Yeah.
Right. That would bring some of the 7 arms to at 5 or even maybe sub 5% in
with relationship financing. Yeah,
exactly.
So and it's also the psychological effect. Because consumers perceive that money's getting, in some ways money is getting cheaper. Your credit card interest rates are going to go down. Your car loans are going to go down, things like that. But if consumers feel good about what's going on, then they're more likely to pull the trigger on spending.
Well, we're getting into the holiday season, so start spending those.
Oh my God, don't tell me about it. Christmas kills me. But all right, real quick, as I wrap up stats, and kind of how the market's moving, I'll throw out a little question for you guys. Month of September. So how is the luxury home market doing? So I will ask you guys this question. What do you think was the highest price home sold in Santa Clara County? And what city was it in? And then I'll give you the details behind
Santa Clara County? I'll say 21.5.
I'll go for 20.
Now I'm talking about not the year, just this month of September. Highest price home sold.
Just in September.
Highest price homes. Yeah.
Oh, I'll say 9 mil in Saratoga.
Okay, Jeter.
I'll go for 13 mil Palo Alto.
All right, pretty damn close. Amy McCafferty, who we know, sold a home. Now, you guys have heard of the Golden Triangle in Saratoga. Have you heard of the Platinum Triangle?
Yes.
Okay.
Where's the Platinum Triangle?
It's right downtown.
So great property. So she sold. It was listed for 7.98. Sold for 8.5.
Wow.
So $500,000 over asking price. Sold in 6 days.
Oh.
So there are still people spending real money in this market.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if that potentially would, because I've seen some of these larger homes. Was that newer construction by any chance?
Yeah. So 20-year-old home.
Okay.
But it looked like a 20-year-old home. It was nice,
Oh, okay.
but not completely modern. 7,000 square feet on a flat 1.3 acre.
I've been seeing like newer construction coming out at 5,000-6,000 square feet on a larger lot, hitting those like 8.5, 9.5 million numbers. So I'm curious. That's probably not a bad price, right? I mean, you said it was in the sevens, right?
Yeah. So sold for 8.5. So $500,000 over asking price. Sold in 6 days.
Yep.
And it sold for about $1,200 a square foot. Lowest price home.
Santa Clara County.
Yep. In September.
Oof. In September. Lowest price home in September, Santa Clara County.
It's probably the one you shared, Mark. The one off, the one off market available.
Yeah, right. That one was like 300 and something thousand. Well, okay, lowest Santa Clara County. The challenge is we pick up Los Gatos Hills, right? So with that being the case,
even then,
I'm going to say $500,000, and I'm going to say area 23, Los Gatos Mountains.
I'll go for 600,000 and maybe like East San Jose.
Okay, so right location, wrong price. Of course, you got to go back to the east side, right? There's a house on Vancouver's Court, 95127, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square feet, 800,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
This agent double-ended the property, 0 days on market. So you can.
Is that what it closed for? 800,000.
8 even.
What do you know what it was listed for?
800,000.
800,000.
0 days on market, double-ended. So, you can read into that what you want. But, one, it's just a reminder of how diverse our market is from a price point. Not too many counties in the United States can sell a home for 800,000 and then 100 times that for 8.5.
Well,
That too, both within a week.
Yeah, both within a week of each other.
And I think it just goes back to the scenario of, listen, we still have quality of life. It's a great place to live, great economic, we got great employment, we got great education, everything. But it also does show you that if you're a wow factor home, right, with the right stats, right locations, all of that stuff, it's going to pretty much fly off the shelf. There's going to be more than one buyer wants it, and we know we have many buyers out there, or it better be a great value.
Yep.
If you're in between, and that's why we go back to that strategic pricing, right? You still, you can't hear that story, oh, the house went $1.5 million over list price. Well, gosh, we can see the same thing. And I always tell agents, like, if they don't sell a lot of homes and they experience Cupertino or Santa Clara where they got 22 offers and then they go to East Side or maybe Gilroy, and they're saying, "Oh, I just had this great activity. The market's on fire," and they give that perception to their seller. It's like, and then all of a sudden it sits there, and they're on their second or third price reduction, and the seller's getting pissed off at them and stuff. So, it is a matter of understanding.
Yeah, it's a dynamic valley.
Oh, man, very much so.
And really a melting pot in terms of ethnicity, race, religion, all that stuff. But affluency, and one of the things that I want to segue to, Berryessa Flea Market.
I just went by there the other day.
Have you ever been in the Berryessa Flea Market?
I haven't. No.
Okay. So been around forever. My second job after a paper route was selling shoes at the Berryessa Flea Market.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up on the east side of San Jose, so very near and dear to my heart. And for years they've been trying to. The Bum family owns it, and for years they've been trying to develop the space, right?
Yeah.
Because they're anticipating that they can put about 3,500 units on there, in addition to retail space and commercial space and park space. And so, what they're trying to do is how do they relocate all of those vendors at the Berryessa Flea Market now. They pushed out the deadline, but it's now just a year away. So January 1st, 2026, those vendors are supposed to be gone. And so there's 1,000 jobs there, and they see about 2 million people every year.
Really?
Is the traffic.
Now, Berryessa, is that at the fairgrounds? Or is that
No.
Okay, because the fairgrounds have one, and then you also have Capitol Drive-In, right?
There isn't one at the fairgrounds that's on a regular basis. You have Capitol Drive-Ins,
right?
And then the Berryessa Flea Market is just kind of that open space right off of Berryessa, and 680. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. They're looking at alternative locations. They were looking at Eastridge Mall converting the Sears building into flea market space. But because the Bum family has to provide $5 million basically in relocation assistance, the city's going to kick in $2.5 million. But even with all that, it would take $10 million to renovate the Sears to bring it up to code. And then you'd have to ask the landlord to take less than market rent.
Right.
So there's a lot of problems. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, just again, talking about the dynamic place we live in. And
there's a great spot right next to Top Golf, open land.
As long as it doesn't flood, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great segue in what I brought to the table. And then I have a question. I think it's a conversation of these units as, the pressure of the entire state of California and all the cities to add more affordable housing and housing elements, right? And as a lot of these cities have been approving the element, it's really interesting to see the number of homes that will be hitting the market over the next 3 to 5 years, right? So I'm going to give you a rundown because we're always asked, this happens to be specific to Los Gatos, but let's look at Los Gatos that is required to add 3,000 to 4,000 homes by 2031, I believe it is, right? And here are just some of the projects that are because of SB 330. Town of Los Gatos got behind the 8 ball. They didn't get their housing element approved early enough, and they went through 6 different renderings or revisions before it got approval on it, right? So all of these projects, and I'm going to read off here, came under SB 330 that are in one process or another. So I'm just going to go down the list. We got the first one that's on Alberta Way. This one has been through the application process. 52 homes, 4 stories. Now, Alberto's right at Highway 9. 4 stories, 52 homes. Then we have Los Gatos Boulevard, which is part of the North 40, that has not been developed.
Right.
450 homes, 7 stories.
Oh, my God.
101 South Santa Cruz, which is a post office.
Yeah.
Very controversial.
And it's a little post office.
58 units, 7 stories.
Wow.
Right downtown Los Gatos. And these are ones that are in process. Now, that application's still a no, but it's been complete.
Yeah.
And it's moved. It looks like it's moved. Los Gatos Lodge, 155 units, 3 stories. Los Gatos Boulevard, another North 40. This is a single building, right? I think this is a senior one, right?
Yeah.
117 units, 9 stories.
Jeez. Oh my God.
Belgados Road, which is we know where Belgados is. It's the old school there. 30 units, 2 stories. You got the Capri Drive, 175 units, 12 stories.
Wow.
Another one on Capri Drive. It's the Capri number 2, 95 units, 7 stories. Los Gatos Boulevard, where Ace Hardware. Right?
Oh, yeah, right there on the intersection.
182 units, 9 stories.
Wow.
God.
Twin Oaks over at Surrey Farms. Surrey Farms is off of Kennedy.
Right.
12 units, 2 stories. Main Street, 26 units, 4 stories. Santa Cruz Avenue, another one, 20 units, 4 stories. Winchester Boulevard, 20 units, 3 stories. I mean, this goes on and on. Los Gatos Boulevard, Newtown, where McDonald's over there, 238 units, 7 stories. Wow. University, 66 units, 3 stories. Santa Cruz, 647 Santa Cruz, 13 units, 3 stories. I mean, I got another 5 of these to go through. But you ask yourself, as these get approved over the next 3 to 5 years, is there now going to be an overabundance? I mean, all this new construction hitting the market at similar times, and I'm sure the developers are going to want to stagger this out.
Right.
But that's just one. That's a little town like Los Gatos. So you start talking about with the Bum family and Berryessa Flea Market, 3,500 homes.
Right.
What drives our market is lack of inventory right now, right?
You bring up a good point, but I still believe that. I mean, if anything, it will bring down values over time and increase affordability.
Correct.
Right? So maybe we do get a little closer in that gap between what it costs to rent and what it costs to buy. In some areas, Los Gatos, it's still going to be out of, above and beyond for most folks. But yeah, I think over the next decade,
it'll be, and I even cut that in half. I say 3 to 5 years, we're going to see, again, I don't think it's not going to, for homeowners, it's not going to be that drop off the cliff because we still have quality of life, great place to live. Tons of buyers want to move here.
Yeah.
But I do believe it will put a compression on the appreciation that we have seen, and it will shift that down a little bit. So if I am a seller looking to retire, I'm going to be looking at getting out of this market sometime between now and the next 3 to 5 years.
I mean, since we were talking about all these, 7 stories, 5 stories, 3 stories, they're all like apartment style.
Yeah, and they won't all be for sale. Some will be apartments, some will be affordable housing, some will be condos.
Yeah, senior living.
Yeah,
right.
because of,
So it's like, what segment of the market is it really?
right. So I think
Good point. Good point.
It'll affect the condo market more, right? These existing condos,
Right.
they'll see more pricing pressure, and
There'll always be a premium on single family homes.
Exactly.
I was going to say, now you deal with a lot of buyers, Jeet.
Right.
I've seen, aren't buyers kind of migrating more to that urban setting, more smaller footprints, or are they looking for more, are they wanting the backyard now?
They still want the backyard.
They do,
I mean, although there's a hybrid work situation, so 2
Right.
out of the 5 days are working from home. They want that backyard. They want that office space.
good to know.
So commute is still an important factor, but not as important as it used to be pre-COVID.
Right.
It's starting to become a factor again. Like some of my clients have moved out to Mountain House and Tracy are wanting
Right,
to move back because it's like, hey, if they have to commute 3 days a week, that's 4 hours in traveling every day.
Perfect example. Amazon can't talk today. not of coffee. Amazon announced yesterday all employees back 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and all hands
Interesting.
on.
Well, that's good to know then. So single family homes, as
Yeah,
you
will
just
still be a
mentioned, will
premium.
still going to be a
Will-
premium on that.
will still
Yeah,
be a
and
premium.
just a last little comment on that is, speaking of units, and there's a large developer downtown San Jose. They were getting ready to do a 2-tower office building. They've now re-engineered the plans, and they're going to do housing. So
Interesting.
just right over by San Pedro Square,
Yep.
downtown San
Yep,
Jose,
yep, yep.
they're going to put 1,100 units down there instead of office space.
That's
Right. So I mean, that
Shows you.
yeah. But
It's-
soon we'll be looking at the Los Gatos skyline from.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's just it, right? It's a trip.
well, some of those units will have some nice views, both directions.
They will. I just hope they, do it more than just like the container buildings, square stuff, which is amazing to me because like North 40 right now for a nice 2-bedroom. I mean, damn, I think they have a loft or 1-bedroom right now for 1.5 million.
I know.
On a resale, right? And their 2 bedrooms plus loft are going for $1.8 to $2 million, and those are your
Right.
condo townhome living type, right?
Growing up in Dubai, all I've seen is skylines, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
It was a desert when we moved there,
Yeah.
and then 12 years later, it's like you go down that highway stretch, and there's just 30, 40-story buildings
Yeah.
on the left and right,
Yeah.
all down, 20 miles. So it's actually weird not to have those tall buildings here, but I also love the whole single-family suburban feel.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. You go through 680, like right through Fremont there, and you got all those built. It's like going through
on
a
the side of the
corridor
freeway now.
of
Yeah.
hundreds, if not thousands, of units.
and that's
right
all
there.
just the last, not even 10
Yeah,
years.
so I mean, and I see that's the challenge with a lot of local people that have been here for multi generations, like Los Gatos. They used to be a farming agricultural type, orchards and stuff, and now it's like they are losing their mountain sceneries and everything with just looking at buildings, and that's the pushback. However, the reality of it is, we do need housing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So.
Yeah. Also, it's a cultural thing. I think here people are, their end goal is to get that single family with a
that
nice
piece of dirt.
But
Right?
here's the challenge though that nobody talks about, or I don't hear anybody talk about it. What about the infrastructure? I mean, where are they going to put another school? There wasn't a time not that long ago where all of our schools in Los Gatos were impacted.
well, luckily people don't want to have kids anymore. So.
Well, man, is that what it is?
That's the problem.
And people didn't realize it's like, there's no neighborhood schools anymore. So there was some lawsuits over this where an agent who didn't really have enough experience, they would sell a house in Blossom Hill Manor, assuming that, the kids can go over here to Blossom Hill. Family moves in and there's 2 spots left in 4th grade. There's none left in 5th grade.
list.
All of a sudden they have to wind up going to Lexington, which is like a drive up Highway 17
Yeah.
because it's still within the school district, right? So I do really question the pressure that this is going to put on the infrastructure of these, especially the smaller towns.
Well, yeah, and not just the schools, right? But utilities, right? Water,
Everything.
sewer, garbage.
Look at in the summertime, Los Gatos is a standstill with the beach traffic, and now you're going to add 4,000 homes to that mix. How many people is that? How many cars?
Well,
is
yeah, and
that?
imagine 2 to 4 people for per unit
yeah,
or more
I mean,
in some
it's
cases.
traffic in downtown.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the push for additional housing, but it's going to come with some pain.
I agree.
Yep.
Well,
Good stuff. Cool.
But-
what else? What do you got, Jeet?
Well, I mean, I had a whole segment about rates dropping over the next 6 months to a
Okay.
year, and what that means for the buyer, right?
So you believe rates will continue this downward cycle for 6 to 12
I believe
months?
so. I think so.
Really?
Like, from
Okay.
everything we are hearing, Fed thinks inflation's under control, and for job numbers to get better, they would need to cut rates in order to increase
Fair enough.
profitability.
Sure.
And, also sustain the job market, right? So, I mean, Fed meets on the 17th, does a rate cut. We don't know if that's going to impact the housing mortgage rates yet or not. But what that means for the buyers, like if it does go down by 50 basis points, then it increases affordability by 5%. That means if someone was looking for $1 million home, they can now afford to pay $1,050,000, right? And the $2 million buyer goes to 2.1 million. So I think we are going to, if that does end up happening where rates continue to go down, we're going to see a whole new wave of buyers, especially like 70% of the conversations I'm having is like, hey, I'm waiting until next year, until January. And that this happens every single year. And those 30% of the people that end up buying, they get the best deal towards this end of the quarter.
The fourth quarter. Absolutely.
And do you feel that might drive prices up?
I think so. I think it'll drive inventory down, and then it'll create more competition, and then prices
because the current inventory is going to get absorbed. And
exactly.
Right.
So right now we have somehow, usually between March and August, we have the most number of homes on the market.
Right.
But surprisingly, we're in mid-September, and right now we have hit the peak of our inventory numbers, right?
Yeah.
So now is a good time for buyers to be out there and actually get some good choice.
And it is interesting because we're seeing, as to your point of this inventory, we are seeing more new listings continuing to go on, where normally we kind of see that slowing down.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got.
We're halfway through September. We're hitting October, winter months.
Yeah, and we've got 300 single-family homes, condos, townhomes that are coming soon that we have access to that aren't on the market yet. So another 300 on top of the 1,700 we have on the market.
Agreed. And I think by mid-October, or towards the end of October, a lot of sellers will be on the sidelines because we have the elections coming up, we have the holidays coming up. Everyone's going to be looking to sell in January. So timing-wise, I mean, for a buyer, it can be better.
I would predict that our inventory is going to continue to grow. I mean, I think we will see that, certainly because interest rates will help push the buyers back into the market. That'll get absorbed. But I do think there's going to be a lot of sellers out there looking at that horizon saying, okay, you know what? Let's push this for that first quarter 2025.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. We are going to see a lot of inventory come back into the market. I think.
Again, that doesn't mean that we're going to see a drop 20% in pricing and everything. Right. You're just going to have more choices.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed.
Definitely. Well, the last thing I want to talk about before we go, I'm not an environmentalist, but I believe in like recycling. It's kind of like an OCD thing for me, right? We've got our 2 garbage cans at the house, and I'm always like, because we got the kids and everything else, I'm always pulling stuff out of the garbage, put it in the recycle. But I found something interesting out last week. Did you guys know that red plastic Solo cups and plastic forks and spoons aren't recyclable?
Yes.
What?
I didn't know they're not recyclable.
They're not recyclable.
Really?
Wow, that's a problem.
All this time, because we use a lot of those, not for beer pong, but for guests. And I mean, we buy by Costco by the bucket load, and they're not recyclable.
I've been throwing them in the recycle this whole time.
I can't believe, I was watching a documentary the other day, and there's that, what do they call it, the great dump of the oceans, where all the oceans come together.
All the plastics.
Over the size of Texas. I mean, it's literally the size of Texas of just plastic. And I mean, I'm like, okay, that's now, if we don't pay attention, like everyone, I hate paper straws. But listen, I don't want to contribute to, next it'll be the size of the U.S. sitting out there in the ocean. And, what's going to be for our generations to come.
Well, and without getting too far into the weeds, then you have the microplastics, right? Because it starts in our water source.
Of course.
And then goes into our bodies. And then you have these microplastics that live inside of us forever. And,
recycle.
And
utilize material that's recyclable. That is amazing to me. I would have thought it was made with recycled material.
Yeah. So the more you know.
The more you know.
And on that note, all right, unlocking Silicon Valley. We're out.
Out. See you guys
Later.